You were told a lie. Go to school, work hard, buy a house. That deal is dead. For the first time in history, you are mathematically destined to be poorer than your parents. This isn't bad luck. It isn't a glitch. It is a calculated, mechanical transfer of wealth from your pocket to the top 1%. The middle class isn't dying by accident. It is being murdered. To understand how this crime works, we have to look past the headlines. We talk about inflation, interest rates, and supply chains, but those are just the smoke. The fire is much deeper. For decades, the economy was built on a simple promise. If you produce more, you earn more. But that promise was broken. We entered a new era, where productivity was severed from pay, where assets were decoupled from reality, and where debt became the only way to survive. The bridge between the working class and the wealthy has been burned down. On one side, you have asset owners, those who hold stocks, real estate, and corporations. On the other side, you have wage earners, those who trade their time for money. The system we live in today is designed to punish the wage earner and reward the asset owner. This is not a political talking point. This is a structural reality. From 1971 to 2008 to right now, specific decisions were made to sacrifice your purchasing power to save the financial system. We are watching the engineered extinction of the middle class. Most people think of inflation as prices simply going up. That is a dangerous lie. Inflation is a policy. It is a deliberate act of devaluing the currency you work for, to bail out the entities that own the system. When the government and the central bank print trillions of dollars, that money does not enter the economy evenly. It doesn't appear in your mailbox, it enters through the top. It goes to the largest banks, the largest corporations, and the financial markets first. This is a phenomenon known as the Cantillon effect. Richard Cantillon, an 18th century economist, discovered a simple, brutal truth. Who gets the new money first determines who gets rich. The first receivers of new money, investors, bankers, corporations, get to spend it before prices rise. They use this cheap, fresh capital to buy assets. They buy houses, stocks, and companies at yesterday's prices. By the time that money circulates down to you, through wages or stimulus checks, the prices of everything have already adjusted upwards. You are getting the scraps of a meal that has already been eaten. The purchasing power has been drained before the dollar ever hit your hand. Since 2020, we have seen roughly 40% of all US dollars in existence printed in a staggeringly short time frame. Where did that wealth go? It went into asset prices. The stock market hit all-time highs while Main Street shut down. Real estate exploded in value while wages stagnated. This wasn't a recovery. It was a transfer. Every time they print money to stimulate the economy, they are diluting your labor. If you saved $10,000 in cash 10 years ago, that money represents thousands of hours of your life, your work, your energy. Today, that same $10,000 buys significantly less. The system effectively stole those hours of labor from your past. They erased your time. This is the invisible tax that no one votes for, but everyone pays. For generations, the cornerstone of the middle class was homeownership. A house wasn't just shelter. It was a savings account, a hedge against inflation, and an inheritance for your children. It was the primary way normal families built generational wealth. That door is slamming shut. Housing is no longer treated as a utility for humans to live in. It has been transformed into a financial asset class for institutional capital. When interest rates were pinned at near zero for over a decade, Wall Street firms, private equity giants, and hedge funds found themselves swimming in cheap cash. They needed somewhere to park it. They chose your neighborhood. We are seeing a massive consolidation of residential real estate. Multi-billion-dollar corporations are buying up single-family homes by the thousands. They aren't buying them to live in them. They are buying them to rent them back to you. This creates a permanent class of renters. When a young couple tries to buy their first starter home, they aren't just bidding against other families. They are bidding against a sovereign wealth fund or a frantic algorithm from a real estate conglomerate that can pay cash over asking price in seconds. The result is a market that has completely detached from local incomes. In the 1950s and 60s, A median home cost roughly 2 to 3 times the median annual income. Today, in many major cities, that multiple is 7, 8, or even 10 times. This isn't just a bubble. A bubble implies it will pop and return to normal. This is a structural shift. If housing prices remain elevated while wages lag, the middle class cannot exist. Without ownership, you have no leverage. You have no equity. You are simply a subscriber to your own life, paying a monthly fee to a landlord who uses your rent money to buy more properties, further driving up the price. It is a feedback loop of dispossession. If you look at economic charts, there is one year where everything changes. 1971. Before 1971, productivity and compensation grew together. If workers made more stuff, they got paid more money. The lines on the graph moved in perfect synchronization. Then, the link was severed. In 1971, the United States unilaterally ended the direct convertibility of the US dollar to gold. The currency became fiat, backed by nothing but government decree. This unleashed a new monetary experiment that allowed for unlimited credit expansion. From that moment on, productivity continued to skyrocket. Technology, computers, and the internet made workers vastly more efficient. We are producing more value today than any generation in history. But look at the line for wages. It flatlined. Adjusted for inflation, the purchasing power of the average worker has barely budged in 50 years. So where did the gap go? Where is all that extra value? It went to the top. It went to executive compensation, to stock buybacks, and to asset inflation. The rewards of capitalism were siphoned away from labor and directed entirely toward capital. This created a paradox. To keep the economy growing, people needed to keep buying things. But they weren't being paid enough to buy the things they were producing. The system faced a crisis of underconsumption. The solution they invented was seductive and poisonous: debt. If you can't pay people enough to maintain a middle-class lifestyle, you have to lend them the money to pretend they still have it. This is the trap that was laid in the 1980s and 90s. Credit cards, auto loans, student loans, home equity lines of credit. The financial industry exploded with products designed to bridge the gap between stagnant wages and rising costs. We were sold the idea that credit was financial freedom. In reality, it was financial servitude. Today, the total household debt sits at record highs. We have normalized the idea that you need to go into massive debt just to get an entry-level job, through student loans, or to drive to that job, through average car payments that now rival rent. This debt serves a dual purpose. First, it keeps consumption going, which keeps the GDP numbers looking green. Second, and more darkly, it keeps the workforce compliant. A population drowning in debt is a population that cannot take risks. You can't quit a job you hate if you miss a payment. You can't start a business if you have a mountain of student loans. You can't strike for better wages if you are living paycheck to paycheck. Debt creates a fragile middle class that is only one bad month away from poverty. It is an illusion of wealth. You drive a nice car, you wear nice clothes, you have a smartphone, but you own none of it. The bank owns it. And the moment the cash flow stops, the repo man comes. This isn't prosperity, it's gilded precariousness. Economists often talk about recovery shapes. A V-shaped recovery means we crash and bounce back quickly. A U-shaped recovery takes longer. But what we are experiencing now is the K-shaped trajectory. The vertical line of the K is the crisis. Then, the path splits. The top arm of the K goes up. That represents the asset owners, the tech giants, the financial elite. They are wealthier than ever. The bottom arm goes down. That is the middle class, the service workers, the small business owners. They are being crushed. There is no middle path on the K. You are either on the escalator going up or you are on the chute going down. The middle is being hollowed out. We are moving toward a bifurcated society. On one side, a techno-feudalist elite who own the algorithms, the platforms, the land, and the robots. On the other side, a vast service class that owns nothing and relies on the gig economy, renting everything from their shelter to their entertainment. This is why the anger in society is palpable. People may not understand the intricacies of quantitative easing or yield curve control, but they understand visceral unfairness. They know that the game is rigged. They know that working hard is no longer a guarantee of survival, let alone success. The destruction of the middle class is not just an economic tragedy. It is a societal emergency. A strong middle class is the engine of democracy. It creates stability. When you erase the middle class, you invite volatility, populism, and eventually, collapse. Understanding this architecture is the only way to navigate it. You cannot play the game by the old rules, because those rules have been rewritten. The strategy of save cash and wait is a losing strategy in a system designed to devalue cash. The strategy of rely on a single paycheck is a gamble in an economy that treats labor as a liability. The middle class as an institution is dying, but you as an individual do not have to go down with the ship. The first step is waking up from the dream. Stop waiting for the system to correct itself. It won't. Stop waiting for a politician to save you. They can't. You need to shift your mindset from wage earner to asset owner, however small the start. You need to understand that in a world of fiat currency, real assets are the only shield. The world is shifting into a new paradigm, one that is harder, colder, and more volatile. But in every shift, there are those who adapt and those who are left behind. The middle is gone. The safety net is gone. You have to decide which arm of the K you are going to fight to be on. Because staying still is no longer an option.